Um, Tonight's presentation, last year, if you're a DOAS member, you probably know we had a huge push towards educating about climate change. We were awarded an Audubon in Action grant from National Audubon Society to help get programs off the ground. And we had about $10,000 to work with, and we made the decision to try to provide some funding for projects in our region to get things moving, recognizing that as an organization, we're just too small to really accomplish everything we'd love to. It takes groups, it takes partners, it takes other people in other communities to really move things forward and get things done. And we're a small board with volunteers, and we have limitations as far as what we're capable of. So this allowed us to at least start to put out some information, educate a little bit more about climate change and climate action, what we can be doing, and open the door for people to bring ideas to the table to say, this is something we want to do in our community. Here's how it'll affect climate change. Here's what we need in order to get it going. And we had probably a little less than a dozen, maybe 10 applications that were all good. But the standout from the group was absolutely this proposal that came in from Kathy Mario in the town of Delhi. And just going through the information through that grant application and the group of people that she was able to put together to help work on this was just a great example of using your resources locally in your community and moving a project forward that you have a passion for. So they ran their project last year. They did an amazing job. They have plans to continue and things that they've both accomplished over that short period of time and things that they have goals set for in the future. And we wanted to share this with communities out there in case other communities wanted to replicate it. It's really a beautiful, very replicable project. And with that, I would like to turn this over to Kathy Mario, one of the most energetic people I have met. And I'm really pleased to get to know you better through this project, Kathy. So over to you.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks, Becky. Thanks, steering committee. I like the way Susan said, and so she got these people too, and I'm thinking wrangled them. I wrangled them. But anyway, I think a lot of these things happen serendipitously. And so last year, I'm walking down my driveway, it's snowing. I find a bag hanging on my mailbox, and inside the bag is a book, this book, given to me in a bag by my librarian neighbor who gives me things that she thinks I will like. This is Doug Tallamy's Nature's Best Hope book. And this is what spurred the whole thing. I read the book in 2 days. I thought, we could do this here. We could do this in Delhi. Nature's Best Hope talks about how we need to help diversity. We had diversity, and then we lose it when we have a huge grass lawn. We need to chop that lawn in two, and we need to plant native species on the half of the lawn. If you need to save the rest of the absolutely not a productive green grass because you love it, then keep that half. What Tallamy talks about really is he explains scientific terms to lay people in a way that we can understand. And he says native species need to grow where they are native. If you want bees and birds and bats and butterflies and bugs to flourish, then you need to have native species. They need to feed on those plants. He goes into talking about robins and how many caterpillars a robin family needs to feed 4 baby robins and so on. And it's hundreds and hundreds a day even. So he puts things in a practical term. So when I look out my window and I see that I put in some stupid plant from Japan or something, I realize it was a bad choice. What he talks about is diversity, planting native species of flowering plants, shrubs, trees, whatever, and getting rid of invasive species. And he says you could still have your favorite plants that don't happen to be native, but if they're not invasive, they're not going to take over everything. But if you love your burning bush and your barberry, we're just going to have to disagree about it because they need to go, because they'll take over the entire forest. I found his book doable. He describes national park and why he calls his program Homegrown National Park. It's because a national park is a discrete unit of land in which things are protected. Nature, and you think big animals, but it's not just that, it's little bitty ones too. That's true, but as soon as a bug walks across that boundary line, there's no protection there anymore. And he also says that national parks just aren't big enough to do the job that we've ended up needing to do. But he says if we all had our own homegrown national park in our yard, it's a doable effort. We feel like maybe we could do that. It's not too huge. And then we would put it together with one next door at our neighbors and the next house down. And what I envisioned when I read the book was that you see the Delaware River, and we can have homegrown national parks up and down the Delaware River. And we'll go from Delhi down to Hamden and down to Walton and so on. And the committee, as soon as I read the book, I'm like, we can do this. And I started calling people, and these people on the committee aren't people I know well. I mean, they're acquaintances, and they're people who I like and I really admire because I know they have PhDs and masters and teaching experience, and like Christina, who can do any data thing in the entire world. And I just called them and said, hey, I have this plan. Are you interested? And every one of them said, yeah, we're in. We will do this. This is what we want to do. And so we got together one night when there was kind of an opening with COVID, and we said, okay, we'll do dinner at my house. So come up and let's decide what we're going to do. And in the meantime, I told them the Kingfisher magazine from DOAS had just come out, and they were offering grant opportunities. So it was perfect, the perfect tie-in, but it only gets better because when the steering committee is coming up to my house at the same time that we had found a helmet, a shield of bees building a hive on our porch ceiling. And so I called Deb Corcoran and her husband. They're the beekeepers where I get my honey in Delhi. And they said, don't move, don't do anything. We'll be right there. So they storm up the driveway in their beekeeper outfits. And we're all plastered to the windows from inside looking out. And they scrape the bees gently into the box. And one of these speakers on the steering committee will tell you when we next see the bees again. But I don't know, those things just seem to be like moments that say, yeah, you're on the right track. These bees are telling you, oh yeah, pollinator path, a good idea, get it done. I think that the fact that we have a lot of new people in Delhi, young families, we have SUNY Delhi with people who have a lot of interest in sustainability. And we have Delaware Academy, our high school, where science teachers are interested in being involved with the project. And we have Eileen, who is a teacher. And we just, once we started this project, and we kind of came up with, well, what are we going to do together? And we just figured we'll try it out and we'll see how it goes. And if this part doesn't work, we'll do something else. But I think we felt that if you offered people home plants that are native to our area, and you said to them, showing them the brochure that Carla made that has the picture out of Doug Tallamy's book that shows the native plants with their long, long roots and so on, they get it, and they're savvy and they want to help. And this is something that people can do. It's a small enough gesture that they feel they are contributing, and then they'll contribute more. So anyway, this was a fun year for me. It was a lot of work. It would help if I knew some technology, but other people picked that up for me. And I'm really proud of what we accomplished. And I think we're going to do a lot this year too. So thank you. Thanks, Audubon. Okay, take it away, committee.
Well, I see my name is first on the list, so I'll kick us off. I am Carla Krim. I'm the Horticulture and Natural Resources Educator at Cornell Cooperative Extension of Delaware County. And for those of you in other counties, you have a cooperative extension agency right in your county that you can absolutely turn on to this type of project, whether they just have an educator like me or they have a team of master gardeners. This is certainly a topic people are passionate about, and I think that this is the time to really get people involved. But in my 5 years that I've been with Extension, one of my favorite projects to work on is work funded by the Catskills Regional Invasive Species Project, otherwise known as CRISP. And they give us funding to the tune of $1,000 to $2,000 a year to basically go out and educate the public about natives and invasives, talk to legislators, talk to homeowners, just really get the awareness out there. So generally, I put the funds towards making displays for public events like the county fair or Fair on the Square, other places, Taste the Catskills. But during COVID, that was really difficult because we didn't have these events. So that pool of money kind of sat there, and I thought, wow, how am I going to get this word out about this important education that we need to do? And here comes Kathy with her big idea. And honestly, I have given so many presentations on pollinator protection and things that you can plant, native plants, things like that. But I really didn't put the pieces together about how important it was to support native species for the purpose of just building the food web and for sustainability of us as a species, not just keeping these cute little bugs alive. And so this really brought it home for me, and I was able to take a lot of knowledge that I'd gathered over the last few years doing this CRISP outreach to put it together in this brochure to just share our mission and our dreams. And I'm so happy that this project took off, and we're really excited to expand it to the rest of the county, which I think we'll cover a little bit later. Okay, it looks like Quinn or Eileen is up next.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I can get up here. Let's see. If I
there
I
you
don't
are.
know. Can you hear me?
We hear you and see you.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so I'm just going to start with the fact that I really appreciate being on this team that Kathy formed. She's a great leader, and the people on the team are great movers and shakers. And as a retired science teacher, I retired in 2018, and I did a lot of research for my teaching, but now this is for a community project, which makes it great. And I want to say that I would certainly recommend that you read Doug Ptolemy's book. Kathy kept talking about it, and I finally took it out of the library. And I'm about halfway through, and I'm really enjoying it because he's got a lot of really nice data about the importance of native corridors for, you know, pollinators and wildlife, and how we can better our backyards. So I am interested in reading more of his books, but I'm also interested in recommending his books to my son, who's a landscape architect, and would say to me, well, you know, that hosta plant out there really doesn't have any ecological value. So I think he gets it, and there are a lot of landscape architects who do. But in any event, Kathy recruited me to help with the project. And so I attended a couple of the public events, which were two of the Delhi farmers markets, which are very popular in the area. And along with Kathy and Lisa and a few others, we gave away beautiful native plants that Connie Tedesco supplied us with. Beautiful native plants with interpretive literature. And we talked to the public about why the plants are important to our community. And it seems like people got it. People were interested. People were fun to talk to. And it was a great experience. And I'd like to talk to those people again, hopefully this summer or in the fall, after they've, you know, seen their plants for a season. And all of us on the committee took plants home and planted them in our gardens or, you know, in places on our property. And so it's just a very worthwhile project. And at that, I will probably want to turn it over to either Lisa or Christina.
I can jump in. So I think it's been a really wonderful project, as everybody said. I think through the pandemic, there have been many challenges. And when you go to a farmer's market and say, hey, we have free native plants that are funded through this grant, and people say free and a plant, and it's something you can do and get outside and enjoy. It was really nice, not only for the environment, but for the community as well. And so I really enjoyed the work at the markets. And then the other aspect that I have tried to help with through this project is partnering with our students at SUNY Delhi. So some of our students, they like to do community service. So we also planted some of the plants at a village garden, which Carla can talk about at the Village Hall, as well as at the Heart of the Catskills Humane Society. They have some nature walks on the site. And so the students were active in helping to plant the plants. And as part of that, we were able to help educate not only, you know, what a native plant is and the benefits, but even more basic than that, how do you plant a plant? You know, how deep should you put it? And so some of those techniques were also shared, and the students really enjoyed the process of engaging in the planting. So I think Jack is next, and then.
Hi folks, I'm Jack Tessier, and I'm at SUNY Delhi, where I manage our associate's degree in environmental studies and our new bachelor's degree in sustainability. So I'm happy to help with any project that involves taking care of our ecosystems, because by taking care of our ecosystems, we also support our economy and our society, because those three things have to go together in order to succeed. And I'll tell you more about invasives later on. Christina, it's your turn.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christina Viafor. I'm just an advocate for the earth. I know nothing about plants whatsoever. I think they're beautiful, but I'm not a gardener. I do not have a green thumb. But I loved this project. I love being able to spread the word about, natives and the importance of them, and, why we need to, pay attention, to this kind of stuff so we can, help our earth. I'm on Delhi's town council, so I'm hoping as a future project, we can redo our little garden thing that's very sad. I'm vice president of the local Delhi chamber. So I was able to get on, use our website to get information out. So I have various different roles in the community. So I was able to kind of help spread the word with a lot of different things. So this was just a really, really fun way to, talk to people and educate people. And it's just been fabulous.
If I could jump in here a second, Susan.
Yeah.
Good. One of the things that I think Carla and Eileen figured out, I don't know who, but when we set up the tables at the market and outside Good Cheap Food and in other places, we had clipboards and we gathered the data that Christina then entered into our system, into the database system, so that we always knew how many plants we gave away and how many participants we had. And what I thought was interesting was how many people live in that household, so that we know how many people we touch and I think we're up to like close to 600. I think it is 500 something. So that information kind of, when you came home with a really bad backache and so on, it was impressive. And they also, like, Christina could send out, she started a Facebook page and she would send out, we also collected emails and we can send information to them. And we do share like DOAS information we send out to people who are interested. And one of the things that we could do was send out something saying, okay, they're going to be back with the free plants next Wednesday or at the Fair on the Square. And the Fair on the Square was, I didn't go to that, but I heard it was fun. You had the game that Carla brought and families were involved, but people then came and said, we got Christina's note and we knew you were going to be here, so save us a plant. And it was nice. The other thing, and maybe Jack will mention it too, but is that when we first mentioned to Susan that we were going to be probably doing a plant giveaway, but that I was having a horrible time finding a vendor because of COVID. There weren't truck drivers, people weren't delivering. You couldn't, I would have had to drive quite far to buy them. And Eileen and I found out how many plants you can fit into a car, which is not nearly what you thought you could fit into the car. I mean, we were bad. But so that's how we ended up, through Jack and through Susan O'Handley, meeting Connie Tedesco. And without her, we wouldn't have had a project. She gave us the plant descriptions. She indicated to us the name so that you could look it up and make sure that it was native to your area. And she told you how to take care of it. And whether it was shade plant or sun plant, those kinds of things. And people could take home little pamphlets about the plant that they selected because Carla did the printing of those plant descriptions. It was really some kind of partnership. I'm sorry, Jack, were you all going to say all that already? Anyway, go ahead.
Well, so this slide just shows the project goals. Our main goal was to just educate the public on, why it's important to plant native and, remove invasive. And then these other goals kind of just through Kathy asking people and getting people to, come on board. And, you know, it just kind of all just happened kind of organically, and with Kathy at the lead. So this shows Carla's part of Carla's amazing brochure. She's an amazing graphic artist. So like everything was just beautiful that she created. So, you know, we kind of had our plan of, you know, what we wanted to do, and then we had to start promoting it. So that's where, you know, Carla came in to create this brochure. We could actually give something, you know, because we wanted to give out the plans, but we also wanted them to remember, you know, why this was all happening, why they got free plans. So through the brochure and through social media and then the website, we kind of just consolidated the brochure onto the website. So through those avenues, we were able to, you know, create events on Facebook to get people excited about coming to either the farmers market or the fair on the square, you know. So we just helped kind of spread the word. We have a local group, you know, local groups for Delhi. So, you know, we would share things through that to get people, you know, to realize, you know, what we were doing. Then, you know, we just started giving away the plants, and it was a lot of fun. And it was just an amazing opportunity to see so many people be, you know, kind of shocked, like, what's the catch with this? And I'm like, well, the catch is that you have to plant them. So hopefully everyone did plant them. And now we're kind of moving, you know, we kind of moved directions, and we started working on actual gardens, which I thought was really great. So there's a website, homegrownnationalpark.org, where you can actually get your garden. So if you have a garden that has native plants in it, you can sign up on this website and get yourself on the map. So before we started this project, there was only one place in Delaware County that had a homegrown national park. Since then, I see there's 3 others. One, of course, is ours, the Homegrown National Park. So what I did is I created, you know, the organization. I created us our own email so I could sign up. And then I just went and added all of the plantings, all of the plants that we had given away. I just went on and just added them. So we have now 227 plantings. One, and there's 3 users. So one of those users is me, because before I got all the homegrown users on there for Delhi, I started my own account to put my own plants, you know, my own little planting. And of course, Kathy was already on there. So it's me, Kathy, and the national, or the, you know, Delhi Homegrown National Park. And our plantings are, you know, 224. So that's what we've added as we've given out those plants. So it's pretty cool. And you can go to this website and check out all over the world. You can see on the bottom here, this is just a snapshot of it. But their goal is to, in the whole country, is to have 20 million acres of native plantings. And we got a long way to go. We're at 44,000 right now. So there's a long way to go. And this is just one way to help kind of spread the word, you know, about, you know, what's going on. This is the website, just a snapshot of the website that I created on our chamber page. It's over in the about section. So I just kind of took Carla's brochure and kind of cut it up, copy and pasted it in there. And, you know, so we can link, you know, to this website. We can add more things to it as we go along. And it just gives us web presence. So this is a picture of us at the first farmers market. So you can see we got a great banner. I mean, it was just amazing how quickly everything kind of came together and how this project was able to come together. So we did the farmers markets. I know Kathy and maybe Lisa were at our local Good Sheep Food, our little like grocery store. Fair on the Square in Delhi is an event every Friday in July. So we attended one of those to kind of just, again, get the word out.
Tell them about the bees.
Oh yeah, Deb Corcoran came to the farmer's market. So she was across the way with her bee hut.
With the bees off of my ceiling of my porch.
Oh yeah.
They were those bees.
Oh, that was the same bees that she brought.
They were the same bees.
I didn't even know that. Yeah, that was so cool. And Carla, do you want to talk about your county fair display?
So for the last few years, I've been promoting pollinator protection and native plants at the county fair, but I had this cool little spin the wheel game that my predecessor had, and I turned it into a little, it's kind of like Wheel of Fortune where you spin it and the little tag lands on one picture or space or another. And so I filled it with pictures of both beautiful native and invasive plants. And so you spin the wheel, it lands on something, and all we ask, is it native or is it invasive? And I'm telling you, little kids know, even if it's gorgeous and beautiful and abundant, if it's not weed or something, they'll say invasive, they know. And so just to kind of, people love the physical spinning of the wheel, but also just the chance to engage. And so it opens the conversation and gets us talking about natives versus invasives and what you want to do with them or not. And it's amazing how much people already know. So just to encourage them to continue spreading that knowledge and to make better changes on their own properties is really impactful. So I was thrilled to be able to put that toy to good use. And I also had some posters you can see in the bottom right-hand corner. This was something that was developed at the Cornell Botanic Gardens in cooperation with Integrated Pest Management, of really teaching homeowners to use less or even no pesticides on their properties and make nice habitats for our pollinating friends.
Yeah, I'd say the hardest part of the whole project was, we were kind of limited to Delhi residents. So we had many people from, surrounding areas come to our farmers market, they come to the fair on the square, for the giveaway. So that was probably the hardest thing was, having to say no to people, but we were like, well, maybe you could start your own project. Yeah. So, and now here we are. So also, with the education and getting into the gardens and the Heart of the Catskills garden, and then, with evasives. So I don't know if Lisa, you want to elaborate on the projects that you did with the Heart of the Catskills and at the village?
Sure. Yep. So I'll let Carla talk about the Village Hall Garden, but the Heart of the Catskills Gardens, they have a variety of habitats, some wooded areas and some areas that are more meadow. And so we worked with students from, I got to make sure I get it, the organization right. It was Delta Theta Gamma, the fraternity. They came to the Heart of the Catskills and helped plant. We planted 31 native plants along the trails, and these are areas that are highly used by people that are coming to the shelter to volunteer to walk dogs. And so there's some native plants that are existing and then also some invasives. And so the hope is to kind of give the natives a jump start and to help outcompete some of the invasives that are on site. The students really had a great time, and it helped them also just become more involved in the community. And they signed up to volunteer further at the Heart of the Catskills after the planning to go back and help with the animals as well. So it was a really a nice event.
Yeah, and so at the Village Hall Garden, this was a really nice little project. We too worked with a Greek organization, and one of my master gardeners, Elise, who is in the chat tonight, actually came and lent a hand. But This was a garden that was lovingly tended to by Mayor David Truscott years ago. And, but unfortunately, some of the invasive species took over, particularly bishop's weed. So we had these young, energetic students come in willing to help us eradicate the invasives and plant some natives. There are some existing plantings of perennials that are absolutely lovely. And while they're not necessarily native to this part of New York, they're also not invasive and not harmful. So we're sort of teaching the students to work around those and create a new sort of garden, but highly emphasizing the native species that were part of our large plant purchase. And we're planning to expand it further this year, which I'm really looking forward to.
All right, and now we have talking about invasives, which Jack is going to do.
Anyone?
Yeah, the next 4 slides are about these invasive species we keep talking about and why they're so problematic. If you look at this view of the West Branch of the Delaware, those shrubs that are kind of a reddish color on top, that's all Japanese knotweed. And if you live in this area, you know that that is a really problematic invasive species. Any piece of it that breaks off will float down the river. Wherever it lands, it'll root and make a new population. So it's a very aggressive spreader. And you could take a spot that might have 10, 20, 30 species, and now you just have knotweed. If you try to walk into one of those areas, peel them apart, it's nothing but knotweed in there. So it's a dramatic drop in the biodiversity, which means everything that feeds on those other plants doesn't have that opportunity. So what we really need surrounding all of our streams and rivers is buffer strips, a nice wide area of native forest, because the knotweed can't take the shade. So if all those areas are shaded and the knotweed lands in there, well, it's not going to get established, and that'll help to keep it out of there. So that's one reason to make sure we're planting native things, especially around rivers, which help to transport some of these invasive species. Next slide, Christina.
Did not go?
Yeah.
You went on mine.
Go ahead, Jack.
Okay, well, maybe mine's slow for some reason, but the next slide should be winged euonymus, kind of a bright green looking plant that's sitting there out there. It is out in the woods where it should not be. This is one that people plant because it's pretty, and that's largely why a lot of these invasives get planted, because they are pretty. But not everything that's pretty is that nice. And so this winged euonymus, it gets its name. You can kind of see it along the stems there. It has this keel that goes along on 3 or 4 sides of it, and that's where the winged euonymus comes from. It's also called burning bush, and you can see from the color there, that's why it's called burning bush. So it's real pretty, but it makes berries. And birds will eat those berries, they'll fly someplace, they'll deposit those berries in a little pile of fertilizer, and off they go. And they will get into the woods and they will shade out our native species, again, reducing biodiversity. And for a group like Audubon that cares about birds a lot, the berries that are produced on a lot of these non-native shrubs, while they are food for birds, they are lower in nutritional quality than the berries from our native species. So it's better for us to be planting native shrubs that provide nice food sources for these kinds of birds. And next slide, there we go. So here's another one of those non-native invasive shrubs that we don't want to plant. This is Japanese barberry, Berberis thunbergii. It's planted a lot because, again, it looks pretty. People will put it around their lawns because it has those little thorns and it keeps people from walking through your yard, you know, if you're that sort. Yeah, it's prickly, it hurts. And it'll get into the woods and it'll spread like crazy. I don't know if any of you have been down to West Branch Preserve down below Hamden, but there has been a stretch down there, just barberry. Nothing else. Everything gets shaded out. So all of our nice understory species like trillium and trout lily and ginseng and all those great things, they lose that opportunity even within a habitat that could be supporting them. So again, it's better to plant something native that looks pretty instead of these things that will invade and cause problems. So we mentioned that the berries on these invasives tend to be less in nutritional quality for birds than our native ones. Another thing that these shrubs do when they get out of the woods is that they help to retain moisture in the litter layer. where the dead leaves are. Well, guess what lives in those dead leaves? Ticks. And ticks prefer to be under these spots where there's more moisture in the leaf litter. So the more of these invasive shrubs we get out there, the more ticks we have and the more risk we have of Lyme disease and the other things that ticks will carry. And I believe there's one more slide there, Christina.
There must be a lag for you.
Yeah, I guess so. So I hope you're looking at a little snow-covered scene there.
Yeah.
And in that open field that's in the front, that field contains, well, there's bush honeysuckle in there. There is multiflora rose in there. There was some autumn olive in there, though I saw some deer this past year chomped that right down. So nice job, deer. You finally ate something I want you to eat. But the multiflora rose is aggressive, especially in open areas. And then the bush honeysuckle that's there, that'll go right out into the woods and it'll grow like these other shrubs and take up a lot of habitat space. And the woods behind that field has a lot of the bush honeysuckle. So again, we don't want to be planting honeysuckle. We want to choose some native things like winterberry and things like that that are nice looking, but also native. And they won't go out and invade that forest right there and wreak ecological havoc with those spaces. And I'll turn it over to the next person.
You know, one of the things I want to throw in too was that I have some discussion and not really talking, just the letters again about the Climate Conservation Corps, that whole project that we talk about that probably will go nowhere federally, but that would allow us, with the money that we would get in this congressional district, to really tackle one of these or two of these the way that it has to be tackled, because you can't just go put on a pair of shorts and go chop this stuff. So it would be very helpful. And I'm sure that Chris feels that way too, and other organizations, but we're going to need bigger guns, I think, to do a huge the public will help. Talking about,
you're kind of breaking up a little bit, Kathy.
Yeah, I just saw. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. I was holding it. I don't think we need to talk about that, especially, do we?
I'm not sure what you just said, but
any that anybody has, I don't. What?
Yeah, there's definitely a lag. Well, so these are the things that kind of made this all possible. You know, besides this, you know, the steering group who, you know, did the work, there was a lot of in-kind support and different partnerships. Of course, the grant that we got, you know, we wouldn't have been able to do anything really. Carla, do you want to talk about how Cornell helped and CRISP?
Well, certainly. We are all set up with a really beautiful printing system up in our office. So I was happy to be able to lend my graphics background and also, you know, the ability to print quite a few brochures affordably. And then I was able to use my funding provided by CRISP to cover that. So it really enhanced this great initiative that where all these plants were funded by the DOAS, and just to be able to get the information out there was just really great for us to be able to come together and partner and really make a bigger impact than any of us could have done on our own.
Yeah, absolutely. Collaboration is key for sure. So these are just, you know, some of the statistics that we got. We had about 5 giveaway events where we gave away 2 native plants to residents of Delhi. We ended up giving out 500. We had 224 participants, which ended up being about 600 household members, which was cool. We added 100 or out of the 224 participants, 180 of them actually like said, yes, we want to hear more information, because we did ask people, because we didn't want to just kind of spam them with various information. So we did, ask their permission to kind of send them emails. And then already we have the 2 native gardens, the one at the Village and one at the Heart of the Catskills. And, we're hoping to add more, to that list this year. So some of the future plans, anyone on the panel, please hop in with this. We're going to continue our community outreach. For me with Facebook, Kathy sends me millions of different stories that are happening that we can share. DOAS has tons of information on there that we kind of cross share. So, anything that, is interesting that we want to kind of get the word out, we have that Facebook page, and then we have the ability to email out things, to those 180 participants, and hopefully that will, continue to grow. It's still, attending more markets to just kind of spread the word. I think we've done a lot with the natives last year, and maybe we'll kind of switch to doing more, information on getting rid of those invasives. These informational webinars, Lisa doing the, webinar in a couple weeks. That'll be great. We have SUNY Delhi holds a community service day each year. So this year it's April 30th. So we're looking to, do some kind of project with, with students, like the town hall's garden. I'm hoping we can get that on the list. And Lisa, can you talk about your project with your class on highlighting the sustainable activity in Delhi?
Yeah, thanks. So one of the classes that we have in our sustainability program is sustainable design and planning. And so the students in that course this year are working on mapping existing sustainable projects like the Village Garden that we just talked about. So it connects to this project and other sustainable initiatives in Delhi, as well as visioning what else could be done in Delhi. And they met with the mayor of Delhi once, and they're going to return in April to present proposals for future projects in Delhi. And on April 30th as well, they will give a walking tour of their work and some of their suggestions for the community. So it will connect to the work in this project, as well as thinking more broadly about sustainable initiatives for the village.
I can speak a little bit to the Eagle Scout project. Carter Terrence, who is a junior at Delaware Academy, wonderful kid, has taken it upon himself for his Eagle Scout project to build a garden at Boyd Park, right there on the river, which will involve quite a bit of invasive removal. And part of becoming an Eagle Scout is actually getting your peers and other members of the community to volunteer and work with you. So this young man is going to not only do a lot of the labor himself, but he'll also be involved with raising the funds and raising the efforts to make this project happen and beautify the riverfront there. And then I believe Eileen can talk about the crop program at South Court, right? That's really exciting.
Uh-oh.
Put you on the spot.
I'm holding the bar down. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Hear you loud and
we can
clear.
hear you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so where I taught for 27 years, I taught middle and high school, but this program that I'm planning to do will be with elementary level kids who meet after school for the crop program, which is a community rural outreach program. And there are 50 some odd children, kindergarten through 5th grade, who are involved in the program. And my plan is to plant approximately that many wildflowers along a small stream that borders our soccer fields on campus. We have a nature trail, so to speak, that the kids do use. It's filled with birdhouses and native as well as invasives, but it would be nice to add a few more natives to that nature trail. There's about, I would say, maybe 400 yards of trail. That's half of it is along the stream, and then the other half is above. And so we'll take an after school crop session to educate, and then have the kids plant. So, you know, essentially they'll each get one plant, and the crop leader that I'm working with, Debbie White, she's very excited. She says the kids are much into hands-on activities. And so it should be a nice program to do. It's funny, when you live in a rural area, you think that you should have lots of wildlife, but ecologically, it's somewhat of a desert because we're surrounded by cornfields and playing fields. So it will be nice to add a little bit of nature. There have been other teachers in the past who have planted, including myself, who have planted some native species along the stream. So it'll be nice to add a little bit to that. And a couple of years ago, the school had a watershed grant, and I'm not sure who exactly did the planting, but it could have been through the Catskill Center for Conservation and Development. I'm not exactly sure, but they planted some water gardens behind the school, and they are absolutely gorgeous. And they function, because we're on a floodplain, they function to really control flooding, other than having, you know, a mass of grass soccer field that has little holes throughout to drain water. These water gardens are beautiful plantings and very aesthetic. The kids can walk through them. The school has their own little bee honey program, or at least they did a few years ago. So, you know, there's a lot going on for the kids there. And so this will just add to that, and we'll have to keep good track of it.
And Carla,
So,
Carla has a master gardener that's going to help?
Absolutely.
Oh.
And hopefully we'll have a few of I know our team members have talked about they interested in helping as well. So the thing that I need to come up with is a date or two for our plantings, so I can get on the crop schedule. And that all is dependent upon when Connie receives the plantings and we can obtain them from her, the natives. So yeah, the ball is rolling there.
Susan, do we have time to go on to the Jack talking about do not buy list, or Lisa and just having Carla talk about the Walton Master Gardener plan, a program?
Yes.
Dynamite.
Yes, go right ahead.
Well, I'll speak to the Master Gardener. So every county's extension office pretty much has a Master Gardener program. We've had ours in place for about 4 years now here in Delaware County. We're 27 members strong, and we're doing a training this year. If anyone's interested, please reach out to me. But Master Gardeners are basically folks who are willing to take an intensive training course and then give back that time to their communities. So I mentioned that Elise is here tonight. Diane Francis is working on the program in South Portwright, which is right in her neighborhood. And that's really where we want to deploy the Master Gardeners, is in their own communities. But one of our areas that we're targeting this year is actually Walton. A few years ago, we started the installation of a community garden behind UHS Hospital. And this was right, we got the funding and then COVID hit. It was hard to get lumber, it was hard to get labor. So the nutrition educator and I just got out there and built this garden ourselves. And it's beautiful, it's ready to go, but we haven't done much with it. The Walton Junior Grange and FFA planted a few things there, but this year we're actually going to dedicate it to a beloved friend of Extension, Candace Russell. And so we're planning to have a big dedication in June, I believe. But we'd really like to incorporate native plantings into the garden itself in and around the raised beds that we built, and have a lot of signage explaining what the plants are and why they're there. I think that you can put native plants everywhere, but if people don't know them from petunia, it's not making the impact. So really that's going to be the focus there this year, is getting the education out.
So the do not buy lists are basically a list of species that we would rather not see planted. And some areas are very good about this. Places like Ithaca, they have lists and they've had them for many years. But we would like to assemble a do not plant list for Delaware County and distribute it to the town and village supervisors so that we don't have more of these invasive species planted. We used to have a grocery store in downtown Delhi, and a new store came in, and along their fence, they alternated plants. Winged euonymus, Japanese barberry, winged euonymus, Japanese barberry. And if we could avoid something like that happening, or the continued planting of Norway maple or Callery pear, invasive trees, that would be a good thing to just simply decrease how many times these things get planted in municipalities.
Yeah, we seem to have a fondness for Japanese tree lilac in Delhi, right along the river where it could naturalize. So I think a lot of it has to do with us really approaching lawmakers and municipalities and making sure they really know what not to plant. So Jack's list will be really, really helpful for that.
One of the things that brings to mind is basically whether you want to maybe approach your municipality for like a local ordinance to not use them in their plantings, but also encourage residents to stay away from certain species for planting. And certainly those types of things, even if it's a proclamation or, as opposed to an ordinance, that can go a long way in educating homeowners for those types of issues. Before we move on to questions, I do want to bring a couple of things to your attention. Elise shared in chat that iBooks is selling the ebook of Nature's Best Hope for $1.99. So that is a great opportunity for you to read at your leisure on your mobile device or tablet and
Wonderful.
Learn about that program. I am going to share my screen very quickly again because I do want to bring a couple of things to your attention since we're talking native plants and putting native plants in your gardens and potentially landscaping around your home. One of the things that becomes a critical piece is you're encouraging birds to use that as habitat. You need to think about preventing window strikes. So National Audubon has materials here at their website. I will prepare a list and email all of our participants with some of these resources. Christina, Kathy, if there's other resources you want me to link to, let's put together that email by, let's say, the end of the week, and we'll get that out to everybody. Another thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is the New York State DEC Buffer in a Bag program. Basically, private and public landowners can apply for a bag of 25 tree and shrub seedlings for planting near streams, rivers, or lakes to help stabilize banks, protect water quality, provide habitat. Similar to this program is a program with the Upper Susquehanna Coalition called Trees for Tributaries. And I really like their program because Upper Susquehanna Coalition will actually come to your property if you have a water body, even if it's like a vernal pond. or a small stream or a creek running through your property, they'll come and do a site assessment and pick plantings specifically that are native for your property that will do the job of providing habitat, providing stabilization, and things like that. So that is definitely something. One of our program participants last year did take advantage of this and had a good number of trees and shrubs planted, and they do protect them with tubing because they're young specimens to start with. But definitely, you know, it's a program that costs nothing to the homeowner or the municipality, and just a really great resource. And then I do want to also just thank Connie Tedesco and the Fernery. Connie's really been our go-to person for expertise and guidance, and she has helped to develop our plant sale, which is going on now as a fundraiser to help bring money back into programs like this so that we can distribute funds through, you know, for climate action in other communities. So that fundraiser will be very important for us moving forward, because we spent all the money we had in the grant, but we don't want to discontinue the support. And we can provide guidance, we can help people look for grants and local organizations that might support, but the actual money to buy the plants is really key. So the Fernery at whitehouse.com is the website address. We'll include that in resources for everybody as well. But Connie is a botanist and a true science person with a huge passion for native plants. And I know she's with us today here in the audience. So if we have questions that she, you know, can answer for people, we can do that. So we're going to go through the chat box. We don't really have to do the chat box at this point because we can just raise your hand using the reactions buttons, and I can recognize people to actually ask their questions live. But we do have one from Dawn Marie. What I would like for my home in the village, some kind of signage to inform about the plants that are there in the front yard with information about natives. So I expect if you're planting natives and you're looking for signage, that may be something that, you know, a group can undertake. And I know Kathy does have some signs that have been printed to promote the Homegrown National Park Delhi project. So you can contact Kathy, and if they've got signs, they can have one for your yard, right, with your native plant garden. So
what we did do, Susan, was we had a real controversy amongst ourselves. Well, I mean, not really. We all agreed they're plastic. We didn't want them. And so we got them for the village and the animal shelter, places like that. But we're not doing them on residences. I mean, I could understand her request, but we think that continuing to buy is not the way to go environmentally. So
it's hard. And the fact is you can get them made out of other materials, but the cost goes up so exponentially. There's some that, you know, that you can do out of aluminum that can be recycled once they fade. But they're definitely more costly to produce.
For the individual homeowner, if you wanted to do something on your own to talk about specific things that you've planted, you could easily print something off, go to a copy shop, Home Depot, not Home Depot, I'm sorry, Staples, a place like that, and have it laminated. And if it would last you a season or two, you staple it to a tree or on a post and just say, look, this is a pollinator pathway. In fact, a lot of the things I used as signage at our events were based on things out of Cornell's website for the Botanic Gardens, where they talk about what the things you're individually doing to support pollinators. So those resources are definitely out there, and there are self-print options that are pretty sustainable.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Carla. Anybody have other questions? for any of our panelists. You can direct a question to somebody specific if you'd like. We'll give people just another moment. And if not, we will go ahead and wrap things up. So we hope that you will join us for Lisa's program, kind of if you would like to do something in your home at landscape. That will be Friday, April 15th on Zoom, and you can register at the DOAS website. So DOAS is short for Delaware-Otsego Audubon Society. And our website is www.doas.us. And we thank you all for coming tonight. And I really appreciate for your whole panel, Kathy, just the time that you put in preparing this and getting everybody together and going over, you know, what was going to happen here tonight. It really was a wonderful presentation. You guys did an amazing job. We do have a question that just came in from Karen. How do the natives do with deer browsing?
Jack? Yes.
Yes.
Deer like some of them, deer don't like other ones. Somebody else who knows, jump in.
Yep. Connie, for the plant sale that Connie has helped us to put together, she actually did provide information on deer resistance levels, like highly deer resistant or medium deer resistant. So that information is out there and available. And certainly, you know, Connie is my go-to person for questions like that.
You know, the other thing I should have mentioned was that if people want to locate a tree or a shrub or a grass for their property, they can go to the Audubon Society website, put in your zip code where it says native plantings for your area, and it'll list it. Also, World Wildlife Fund has the same thing. No, National Wildlife Federation. They're both really good. They're well done. And you just make sure you put in your own zip code and it'll tell you each one of those categories.
I'm just looking to see if I can find that link, which I think I do have. I'm sure I have it somewhere. I'll find that link and we'll send it out with that email with resource links. Another question that just came in.
Comment from Jack.
Oh, okay. So that was from Jack. So in response to the deer browsing, deer love yews and hobblebush, but even they can be wrapped in burlap for the winter. So did you want to expand on that, Jack?
Well, deer eat pretty much everything, which is another part of the problem. Connie can give you lists of plants that are more resistant to deer, but if there's something you really like, just take care of it like you would anything. There's a lot of non-native things that we put some effort into maintaining because of deer or because of drought or whatever. Just put a little bit of effort into the natives as well, and they'll be fine. And in fact, that's another thing about the natives is that because they're native, they are adapted to the local climate, and that actually makes them generally easier to care for than some of the non-native things. So, just choose carefully and protect the ones that you really like.
And
Connie says ferns and mints.
I found that if I plant close to the home where the people and the pets are, the deer are less likely to bother it. So don't think that you just have to put petunias and hostas and things like that right around your landscape. Put those big, beautiful milkweeds and things like that right next to your house. And the deer will be less likely to bother them.
And when you go to the animal shelter to see Lisa's work out there, pick up a dog and
bring it home, let it scare the deer,
Very nice.
It all comes full circle here.
Indeed. I would like to ask, when you have that do not buy list put together, I would love to have a copy of that for our website. So we'll definitely add that.
Because I don't have a lot of hope it will change behavior, but we'll send it out. Maybe something will happen.
Okay. Connie, did you want to add anything?
Oh, Connie.
Yep.
No, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to thank Kathy and the whole group down there. You guys did a great job. I was so glad to work with you and to educate people about native plants. I've been in business for 9 years, and I don't think it's been to the last 2 or 3 that native Doug Tallamy's book, it's finally reaching people. And I'm so glad to have worked with you guys, hopefully work with you more. I know you've got a lot more plants coming this year, so looking forward to that. So it's just been a joy, and congratulations on what you've accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you. You taught us so much. You taught me so much. I have to say, Connie would follow me around, say that you got to water them. You're going to put them here. You got to water them tonight before you forget. Wait, it's going to get too cold. Wait, put them in your garage. But she was the cutest mother hen, but I learned a ton. Thank you, Connie.
Nice. Well, we will follow up with everyone from tonight, again, with that list of resources and links, just in case anybody's interested in following up. If there are people in our group that are interested in doing a project in their community, please email us, reach out, let me know, and I'll put you on the radar for discounts off of the native plant sale, if that's a type of project that you're interested in doing. If there's another climate action project that you're interested in, let me know some information and we'll see how we can help you through the Audubon chapter. So again, to all the panel, thank you so much. It was really wonderful. I appreciate it, all your time and your effort. And I look forward to hearing more of your success in the future.
Thanks for your support, Susan.
You're welcome. Susan. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.